in the combustion characteristics, you no longer need that extra octane to do it because the product is now handling that. You're getting the performance without the expense of the added octane boosters that are used in the premium fuel.
So bottom line is anybody that's using premium can now use regular and have a better performance in the vehicle, and that's a savings, actually a large savings on its own.
Exactly. I mean, again, that's why it's a very good point. That's an excellent savings in its own with everything else aside.
Now, it's interesting because for many years we used to say, you know, if you give me $2 for this product, I'll save you $5, $10, $15 at the pump. But when you stop and think about what you can save in maintenance costs because of the engine lasting longer and because of the oil lasting longer, it's a whole lot more than you give me 2, I'll give you 10. It could be you give me 2, I'll give you thousands of dollars in savings. Can you talk a little bit about lowering maintenance costs, longevity of the engine, and why?
Certainly. Again, because it's a metal technology, and that quote-unquote thin film is formed, it accomplishes several things. It can eliminate popping holes in the top of a piston from overburning and the thermite reaction of other ingredients that are found in commercial pump fuels. It reduces technically what everybody's calling head wear lately, which is just wear around the valve seats and so forth. Now, an interesting thing is an early version of the material was actually used by a couple of major players in the fuel industry to replace lead until the no-leaded fuel situation was squared away as a valve seat material, which it still works, obviously, in that function and reduces both valve wear and valve seat wear because of that. It will also, because it causes unburned carbon deposits to burn off, lengthen the life of the rings on the piston. You'll get less blow-by over only a few thousand miles. The rings will clean up tremendously. In tests that have been done with major engine manufacturers, if you take an engine that's not treated, comparative length of time and miles of an engine that is treated, you'll notice the treated engine looks brand new. It's pretty amazing. So there's a lot of money that can be saved in wear and tear, and again, especially with commercial vehicles that suffer harder extremes in how they're used and so forth.
So unlike detergents that may clean the hard carbon deposits off, but then drop those little, essentially rock into the oil, which act as almost a sandblast of the engine, this is burning the carbon off, and therefore engines can last significantly longer, and oil changes can be reduced, which is just another savings. Is that correct?
Right. Well, you're going to act to burn off even the hard carbon that's there. You're going to reduce blow-by through the rings. That's going to, of course, preserve the oil for a longer length of time. It is a tremendous factor against the normal wear of an engine.
If I can just kind of add on to that, we actually have trucks that were normally changing the oil every 15,000 miles and now changing them every 40,000 miles with no harmful effects because of the product.
Oil serves two purposes. It's not just to lubricate the moving parts of the engine and prevent wear and tear. A major part of the reason you have a sump and you have all that oil sloshing around is to keep the engine cool. When you have the gases from combustion, which we call blow-by for a reason, when they blow by the rings and go down into the sump, they will also heat up and burn the oil. The more the oil is burned, the less viscosity it has, and the worse it is at both cooling and lubricating the engine. So if you can prevent the blow-by, you're better off. It's also the cause of a lot of pollution. Years ago, you didn't have a positive crankcase ventilation valve on the engine. You had a blow-by tube that blew all this exhaust out into the street and left oil all over the place. That actually let the crankcase breathe. Nowadays, you feed it back into the engine. Not a good thing. It reduces mileage. It increases wear and tear. So by using the product, reducing blow-by, you've saved, again, more wear and tear, and from feeding your engine unburned particulate matter that can hurt the injectors, clog up the injectors, aspirated version if you still have a carburetor and things like that. So by preventing the blow-by, it's a big deal.
And essentially the same processes as increasing horsepower, which is why you said if people are heavy on the foot, they may not see the same mileage benefits, but they're going to see the power.
Again, that 30% increase on downstroke is interesting because, you know, if you were driving, let's say, an old sports car that was basically nothing more than four wheels and an engine, you would really feel the difference. And you do feel the difference in a vehicle with a standard transmission.
So people say, well, can this hurt my vehicle in any way? So let's talk about that. Can it do any damage in any way, shape, or form to the car?
No, the material itself is EPA registered, and it's EPA registered requiring what they call a Tier 1 data submission, which has to prove that the EPA, that the material warrants safely for the environment and the user and the vehicle to be allowed in commercial pump fuel. The material itself will not hurt a car no matter how much you use it. It's totally benign.
Well, in fact, you have testing done that I have and others have that shows it doesn't do anything to the fuel at all, which takes it out of the fuel additive arena. It actually chemically does not alter the fuel whatsoever, correct?
Right. It has no relationship to the fuel at all. In fact, at one point we were lobbying the EPA to have it waived as a fuel additive because it has nothing to do with it, but they don't have a category to put it in if it isn't a fuel additive. And there's no discernible difference between the product in a fuel and the fuel without the product.
So if anybody says, well, can this hurt my car? It doesn't do anything to the fuel. Nothing in particulate matter and a particulate size gets past the fuel filter. It's just a cause and effect situation. Not only can it not hurt your car, it's not possible to hurt the car, it's actually good for the engine. So that's why we're calling it the first vitamin for your vehicle.
Exactly.
So part of the problem, obviously, Steve, is the quote-unquote additive arena is crowded with junk. I call it a snake oil industry. So many of these companies have these products that are nothing more than detergents, but they make the same claims. So why is the EnviroTabs unlike anything else in the market today?
Well, again, it has nothing to do with the fuel, where the other products do. They're all either solvents or modified detergent blends to clean out varnishes and so forth, built up weak carbon deposits, things that were more common 20 years ago than are in the new vehicles of today. The technology that we have here, as I said, is metal technology. It's very simple, very efficient. Everything about it is beneficial to the engine, from the savings on wear and tear to the fuel savings and so forth and so on. And it, of course, is environmentally friendly. So nothing to do with the fuel additives that are typically on the market. And unfortunately, you're right, there's a bad stigma out there with the snake oil products, which keep coming out of the woodwork, but they're there.
And so we've been working together with the EnviroTabs, and my passion for the good we can do for the environment with this product. In closing, where else can you get a product that reduces emissions, that increases the horsepower, the longevity of the engine, and does it all for free, except really the EnviroTabs? And when you look at the market size, the good we can do is just enormous.
The market is huge. Fuel costs will continue to climb. The product is beneficial. It all seems like a no-brainer, and the truth is with the product. So, business is out there.
Steve, I want to thank you very much for your time and your expertise. When you really understand it, the product is working 100% of the time. It's always working. And if you had an emissions tester, which I do, you can see. I mean, you can watch the NOx and the particulate emissions and the CO2 drop 50, 60, 70% or more. Most people don't carry around a $4,000 briefcase with an emissions tester in it, and watch empirically. And 100% of the time, in as little as an hour of the product being in the fuel, emissions start plummeting. When was the last time anybody has ever marketed something free? And the paradigm shift for offering people the benefit of this product at no cost, and in fact, depending on the price of gas, it should be a 200 to 400% return on your investment. But what's really unique now is when we first started working with it, frankly, the U.S. just didn't care about the environment. I mean, Americans just didn't care about green. Canadians were ahead of us. Europeans were ahead of us. But now you can't watch the news. You can't watch anything without green, 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 green. And you talk to realtors, the green homes are selling. So we've got a convergence of trends here. And so now we have a one-of-a-kind product, but we still have that paradigm of a direct-to-consumer product that's absolutely no cost to anybody who uses it. And we've got this green movement that's just percolating, about ready to explode. If you think you're excited now, wait till the thing starts rolling. It blew my mind, and I was never been easily impressed. I've seen a lot of success in my life, and what we're about to do, I think, is going to impress everybody. Thanks for listening, everyone.
Wow. Thanks, guys. Incredible science with incredible benefits for all of us. Now you have the complete story of the technology behind EnviroTabs. We know you're going to love using this product, the benefits you'll receive, and the benefits you'll be giving to our environment. Make sure to contact your EnviroTabs independent affiliate if you have any further questions. I would like to thank you for your time and thank you for your interest in EnviroTabs.